Hello, welcome back. Today I'm actually going to make a video. Hello, welcome back to the video. Today I'm going to introduce you the I symbol and what it means. Some of you already know this, but this is for those who do not know. So today I am going to review this part in Algebra 2 in which they'll talk about it. Maybe not talk about it in this way, but it's okay. So let's see if I give here x cubed is equal to 64. Let's say 64, right? And now today we're also going to prove using this strategy and this method, but first of all we're going to use this first. So x cubed is equal to 64. Find the values of x. In algebra, what they teach you is that the value of x is already 4, right? Which is correct, but we're going to also prove how it is 4. Plus, there's another solution to this. That's one of the shocking thing in algebra. So this is related with algebra 2. If you don't know, it's 11th grade mathematics. So let's dive deeper into this. So now we have y cubed minus 64 is equal to 0. And then we have x cubed minus 4 cubed is equal to 0. Right now, we already know in our algebra, when we relate back to algebra 1, that a cubed minus b cubed is equal to a minus b and a squared, right, plus ab plus b squared, right? So now using this information, right, I'm sorry if this looks like a 6, but I can change that, right? So here we have this finally. So now we since we already know in algebra the one that it's not good mathematics that a cubed minus b cubed is equal to a minus b, right? And which is in parentheses multiplied by a squared plus ab plus b squared, parentheses, right? So it's minus in this part and it's plus and all that. Using this strategy, we can find out x cubed, right, minus 4 cubed is equal to x minus 4 and x squared plus 4x plus 16, right? So this, because there's a minus 4, does not mean we count on this minus, we count on the 4 only. It's as if it has its own absolute value when we evaluate it, because remember it's plus b squared, I mean, though a negative could change it, this does not have a negative. This is not really canceling as a positive. This is why 4 squared is equal to 16. You can see minus 4 squared is also 16. But when you do like AB plus AB, it cannot be minus 4x. It has to be just 4x, This is the rule of mathematics, so I cannot change any of that. So now let's go into this one. So this would be x minus 4 is equal to 0. And we add 4 on both sides, right? So this can cancel. And we have x equals 4, right? So hence we already have this proved that x is one of the that 4 is one of the solutions to x. But whatever, there's this one what's it called, shocking, right? There's one shocking thing to this though. So what is the shocking thing though? So the shocking thing is the value of, to introduction of I, right? In mathematics. So there's actually two solutions to x, which is one of them is 4 and one of them is another solution with I in it. So let's go and do it. So right now in this value we have x, we actually put on x minus 4 is equal to 0. Now however, we also need to do the same for x squared plus 4x plus 16, right? And that is what is called the shocking thing, right? So let's do it. So we have x squared plus 4x plus 16 is equal to 0. And we subtract 16 on both sides. right? So now we have minus 16 is equal to x squared plus 4x, right? Now, actually, in order to solve this, we can actually we can add 4 on both sides. So we have plus 4, and then you have plus 4. So those completing the square, we also need to do on another side too. So now we have x squared plus 4x plus 4 is equal to negative 12. And then we can factor this out, right? If you know this factoring strategy, you'll know better, right? What's behind this, right? It would be x plus 2 square is equal to minus 12. We now have that here. Now we can take the square root on both sides, right? So if I take square root on this side, we have to like take the square root of this side, right? So now this and the 2 will cancel each other out. And now we actually left with square root of negative 12. And remember mathematics, the negative should always be an outside, but since this is the inside of the square root symbol, we have this shocking thing. Now we're supposed to use I now, right? We're supposed to use I. So let's use I now, right? So first of all, we know that square root of 12 can be factored in square root of 2 times 2 times 3, right? It could be square root of 2 times square root of 2 times square root of 3. That could be square root of 4 times square root of 3, right? And then we know that square root of 4 is 2, so 2 times square root of 3, it'll be 2 times square root of 3, right? Just the same thing, actually. So now we already got the answer that 2 times square root of 3 is equal to square root of 12. However, that's not the case though. Right now we have a negative here, right? We have a negative. So now, because there's a negative, we must change the 2 times the square root of 3 to an I next to the 2, right? Because it will then be 2i times 2i, and we remember in Algebra 2 that I squared is always equal to negative 1, right? So those is an imaginary number. It might be related with the y-axis in the polar and in the complex number sections of the when you're competing with graphs and we're looking at it. But this is like in a more different way. If you just like see it, right? I squared is equal to negative 1. So now we have 2i times the square root of 3. And we feel like then like square it and multiply it by 3, then we can get negative 2 because 2i times 2i is 4 times minus 1, which is minus 4 times 3 is square root of minus 2, right? If you just look at it, and that would be equal to x plus 2. Now, however, it's still not done yet. Is it 2i times square root of 3, or is it plus or minus the 2i times square root of 3? It's actually plus or minus 2i times the square root of 3. Because remember, when you're factoring out a square root or anything like that, even if you're factoring out or even if you find an answer to it, we must leave it as plus or minus. You know, you've seen the symbol, right? Plus or minus symbol. Plus or minus symbol is used in a lot of ways. For example, it can be used in the quadratic equation, what is minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. However, in which the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Well, however, we don't need this right here. This is like different. We don't even need this in this problem yet. So let's just not talk about this for my extra information. So when we look at it, we got 2i times square root 3 plus or minus. Now I have x plus 2. So now what we do is subtract 2 on both sides. So now after that you can get plus minus 2i times square root of 3 minus 2, right? Or you can also consider that as minus 2 plus or minus 2i times square root of 3, right? So either way this will work. You don't really have to count these as like two different solutions because these two are both the same, right? It's just like if you consider it as this, like 6 minus 2 and minus 2 plus 6. Though these two does not have a plus or minus symbol, it's okay, it's fine. Just leave it like that, it's fine. So therefore, this, or you can consider this too, right? So this is one of the solutions to the problem here, which is to find x. So here's the answer. One of the answers too is, which is x equals, right, minus 2 plus or minus 2i times the square root of 3, right? So now we find the values of x, right? We're using x cubed equals 64. So there we have it. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'll post more videos later on. Bye.